I just wanted to do a quick video today about what I'm doing in my garden for maintenance, how I'm keeping up on things. Things I'll show you today are things I'm constantly working on for this next month or so until the harvest starts to come in. Everything was planted about 6 weeks ago, so we're kind of past the point of doing any planting where seeds didn't pop up or something like that. So now it's just kind of like maintaining the tomatoes and the potatoes and the pests and just checking things out. One thing I'm going to do for the fall though is move this big giant thing out of this way. We're going to put it at the bottom of the garden so it'll help with erosion. It's great for pollinators. It's why do I always draw a blank with this thing every time? Anyways, it's a thing. I don't use it. I'm going to put it down there. It's bronze fennel. See? Sometimes. Okay. Bronze fennel. It's like, I think it's on its second or third year. It just keeps getting bigger and it's put babies everywhere. I don't use it for anything. It's kind of cool. It smells good. But I'm going to go ahead and just put it down and spread it out against the bottom of the garden where I have all my sunflowers, just to kind of help on the erosion, because I'm on a slight hill, not a big hill, but a slight hill, which is really working out great with all the rain that we're getting this year. Nothing is sitting in water, which is a good thing for the roots, right? It is kind of eroding some of my good soil away, but it's kind of building up the bottom of the garden. So if I stop it there, we can still bring it back in. And it's not just going out into the yard. So this will be moved in the fall. Right now there's pollinators on it, like different wasps and bees, and I don't really feel like digging that up, and it probably would hurt it. And I don't want to kill it yet. I just want to kind of put it down there and have it plant somewhere else instead of taking away from the asparagus that I have here. So let's go along. I'm going to show you everything that I'm doing in the garden when we're about 1 to 2 months in before all the harvest starts coming in. So come on, let's see what we can do. Here we are in one row of the potatoes. I have several potatoes because I love growing the spuds. I use them for the grill and for mashed potatoes and pierogies and french fries all throughout the year. I just leave them in a cold storage and I'm able to use those potatoes fresh for the whole entire year until the next crop comes in. Or about a couple, well, I probably ran out a little bit when I started planting these. I probably ran out of potatoes. I grow about 500 pounds potatoes each year, so we eat a lot of spuds. But I wanted to tell you about maintenance right now. So right now I need to be checking for those fun potato bugs that show up. There's the babies, and I call the teenagers, those fat little things, and you got the adults that are mating and spreading orange eggs on the underneath of all the potatoes. And maybe I'll be able to find some and I'll show you what they look like. But this year they haven't been as bad. I think maybe because we've had so much rain, it's kind of like washing them out. So it's kind of working in my favor this year, but they're always here. We haven't had to spray. If we do decide to spray, we'll spray one time with an organic approved, it's called Monterey Spray with Spinosad. It has to have the Spinosad in it, and it works really good just to kind of get rid of them one time, or they will eat all of your potato plant, and then that energy is from the sun is not going into the potato underneath. So we need to make sure that we have lots of foliage on top of the potatoes so they keep growing. So, so right now, I'm just making sure, I dug them in the beautiful trenches, and I've used that dirt on the side already. So sometimes I have to kind of come along and grab dirt from in the rows itself. And I just want to make sure to keep them nice and covered underneath. Even though you don't see the potatoes underneath, you want to keep putting dirt on top because you still want several inches of dirt. So even if you don't see the potatoes, you still want to go ahead and keep covering them up, especially if the rain's washing them away or anything like that. So I just like, this is my forged wedge toe that I like a lot, and it just really helps to grab the dirt. And you don't have to be so careful about the plant when you're, you can kind of cover the plant up itself. You don't have to worry about it too much. You don't got to be afraid of knocking into it or anything like that. It'll be just fine. So you just got to give these guys, and I might go down on one side and then turn around and do it on this side just so they're nice and covered. And so I kind of like to do that several times throughout the year just to make sure that they're covered and they're not getting the. So what happens is, and I should probably tell you that, right? So what happens is, isn't that a famous sign? So what happened? It'll get the green on it. You ever have potatoes from the store or anything like that? I think it's called solanine. You gotta be careful on how much you have of that because it can be poisonous, especially in large amounts. So we try to just keep them covered, and that's just basically from the sun getting to the potato itself. So that's why we're always constantly covering up the potatoes just to make sure that they are nice and deep in the ground and we don't have to encounter any of that problem whatsoever. So let's move on to something else. Alright, here we are in a row of our dry beans. If you follow me or any of my revivals on my Facebook group or anything like that, you know that I love my dry beans because it screams food security to me. We love our dried beans. It's a lot of work, but I really feel like putting in the effort towards them is it's a great benefit, and it pays off. I have lots of little hands that can help me pick all the little pods apart to save them. So I have pinto beans for refried beans, kidney for chili, and I've got black beans for any of the Spanish dishes, and my black bean burritos. And I apologize for the wind. If you're hearing the wind coming through, I apologize for that. Can't control Mother Nature, can we? But so anyway, so these are my dried beans. I have the posts, a couple posts on each end here. Got 3 of them on this side and 3 on that side, and I use string to put them along, and you can see here's some string here. This helps them. I kind of wrap their little tentacles around there like that, tendrils, tentacles, whatever you want to call them. And just to give them a little bit more space to keep growing. They are a bush bean, not a pole bean, so they're not going to grow up a trellis or anything like that. You can give them a trellis if you have it, but I don't do that. But they're still going to be a bush bean where they stay, much shorter than a beautiful pole bean like my purple beans in the back garden. So I will use this for 2 reasons, just to kind of give them some support with their little tentacles, and then also for drying out, because I want them to dry out in the garden for as long as possible before I move them to like a barn and then eventually to the house where we shell them apart. But so this way, when they get big enough, they are kind of like, I tuck their leaves like that, just kind of hold them up and give them the airflow underneath here, so when they are drying out, it's helping with the mold and stuff like that. So that's the kind of setup that I have. Eventually, I will pull them and I will dry them along the fence lines for a little bit longer in the sun, and then eventually we'll have to go get covered because, October, the rains and stuff are coming, and we don't want them to get further moldy, so they'll have to be covered. And then I put them in totes, and then they eventually come in the house and we shell them. But this is the stage that I'm doing right now. They have been planted for about 6 weeks or so. They're looking really good. These are the pinto beans here, and they're growing good. And once they figure out that there's no more space, or that they're, got a couple feet tall, then they'll go ahead and start putting on much more flowers, and then the pods will start to show up, which is exciting. Talk about the tomatoes. Now, I certainly have a love-hate relationship with tomatoes because they are freaking moody, and everything just seems to piss them off. But what are you gonna do? So here's what I'm doing to maintain them, to maintain my love for the tomatoes, because I plant about 250 plants, and I use them for everything. My pizza sauce, spaghetti sauce, tomatoes for chili, tomatoes for mac and tomatoes. I mean, just like everything. We just absolutely love them. So I need to maintain them the best I can. I love using these hog panels or cattle panels. This is absolutely by hands the best system. There's no, those cone things are just useless, completely useless. I don't like using the string or anything like that. There's too much work. I've used poles. I've done a gauntlet of things, and none of them works. This is by far my favorite. So if you can invest in these, and you got to get a truck, right, and a trailer probably, because they're about 16 feet long, so it's really hard. So if you're able to do it, this is a one and done situation that you can bring. But I do need to go ahead and maintain these. Now these ones are looking really good. This side of the garden, the tomatoes are doing a lot better than that side of the garden. So that leads me to investigate, okay, what's really going on that side versus this side? What do we need for fertilizer and stuff like that? We're going to actually overwinter the pigs in this garden, which will do a great job of fertilizing all on their own, right? So that's always a great idea. So we're going to put them in here, and then they can just, eat all the stalks and the stuff, and I have to protect some of the areas where I don't want, where I've got the blueberries and strawberries and stuff, but that's okay. It's going to work out because they will fertilize, and I don't have to haul it in over here, and then they will kind of also help with the weeding as well, right? Because they're going to eat all of that. So anyways, back to the tomatoes. Love these guys. So we have to make sure we are constantly pruning them. I love to be able to prune the bottom of these here to make sure that the leaves are off of the ground, so that when it rains, when it bounces back up the dirt and the bacteria, it can get into your tomato plants. So the farther they're away from the ground, the better. And you always I'm always trimming them, and you want to pinch off any of the suckers that are in here, and I'll do a video and show you exactly what the suckers look like in case you've never seen them. And you want to be careful with your pruning. You want to make sure you are pruning them, but you want to make sure you're not pruning them too much, because this is their little solar energy. It's sucking in all that beautiful sunshine, just like what we want to do all the time. And so if we don't give them, if we cut too much, it'll shock them. But if we cut too much as well, there won't be any green for them to be able to suck in that wonderful stuff from the sun. It's to send the energy back into the fruits. So it's kind of like, okay, do some, but don't do too much. So prune the suckers, prune the stuff off of the bottom, and when things are starting to really harvest, I will even cut off some branches that don't have any tomatoes on it, and just to give it some airflow and stuff like that. But you don't want to cut from too much from the top because you don't want the sun to burn the tomatoes. And you'll see the sun scald, it'll turn yellow on your tomatoes, and that's the sun scald. So that's why I say it's a love-hate. There's lots of things. If it's a day that ends with a DAY, then it's probably made them mad and they're going to do curl or turn yellow on you or something like that. But so let's take a little closer look into actually pruning these tomatoes. Close up to the tomatoes itself. So I want to just kind of show you that here's a sucker in between here. Some people call it the armpit. It's kind of a weird thing. You can use baby scissors. You can use whatever. You can pinch them off. They easily pinch off as well. So I'm just going to go through and then find any of these and just kind of break them off or pinch them off if I really need to. Some of them are just getting too close to the ground. I'm going to go ahead and just snip this off like that. Maybe pull a couple weeds because, gosh, you know that there's always going to be weeds, right? So you got to do that. Let's see. I'm going to say that these are San Marzano tomatoes over here. So they have a much greener, thicker stalk compared to some of the other type of tomatoes. So you'll get to know your kind of different tomatoes. I do these and several other kinds. Tappies are probably my favorite. So I'm just going to go ahead and go on in and just kind of get some of these off the bottom here. Prune for some suckers. Sometimes the sucker ones too, I mean look at it, that's pretty big, right? Sometimes the suckers will get blooms on them as well. And that's fine. If you decide not to prune your tomatoes, that'll be fine. But this way it's sending more energy into the actual fruit that I have on here now and the remaining beautiful blooms that I have, instead of just keep growing all this foliage. I'm just going to get rid of this one too, because why not, right? So, yep, I'm going to get rid of this one too. So hopefully that helps you out. Make sure you get out your garden and, you know, give these guys a little haircut. You'll have to do this several times. It's a lot of times that you have to go ahead and prune these babies. But the more you do, the more you get. So that's always helpful. So we're getting rid of that. And there's always suckers on the bottom of the bases of the tomatoes. There's always another tomato plant trying to grow itself down there. Apologize for the fun noise in the background. Northern Michigan. Northern Michigan on a dirt road. This is what you get. You get people coming up and having a good old time, but it's also good for camera stuff. All right. Some other things to start watching out too for in your garden is, you know, what's going on with these leaves and stuff like that. These to me aren't looking too bad, but they can get out of control. I've been watching them and they've kind of stayed the same. I'm just wondering if it's a particular strain that I have that's doing that, but they're still performing good and they're doing good, except for where ants have decided to come in and partake in a little leafage issue. So what I could do is sprinkle DE on the things that are starting to get a little too much, because they can handle a lot, but you don't want it to get too bad where, again, it doesn't have their solar panels sucking in that beautiful vitamins and the energy from the sun to produce for stuff for us, right? So I want to make sure I leave as much as I can. Maybe if they start getting too out of control, I'm going to go ahead and sprinkle the DE on it. And let's see what else we have. Okay, here we have my peas, and then down over there I have the cucumbers. I have some old fencing that I used to piece with two bars on each side that I just kind of threw in and then put them on here. It'll totally hold them. So it's really good to just kind of use those weird extra pieces around that you have. But sometimes these little tentacles start growing out a little too far over this way. So I may just kind of give them a little coax, put them this way. Peas are pretty easy to rip and sensitive, so you should just kind of take caution when you are, you know, putting them into the fence and stuff like that. But I want to keep telling them that there's a little bit more space to grow, so they go ahead and start still growing before they start to fruit out on me. So that's what I'm kind of doing with some of these. Let's check the next thing. Something new that I'm growing this year is artichoke. I have no clue what I'm doing, but I'm really excited because they're actually doing, I think, pretty good. I'm hoping I just have enough time in my area to go ahead and grow artichokes, but I'll be excited if I get anything. 1 artichoke, 2 artichoke, 3 artichoke more. I'll take it all, right? Here's I have peppers. Peppers are struggling, and it's really hard to tell where they actually are because I've left the paths full of grass because it's just a lot going on with this garden. We have so many rows and they're 100 feet long, and I'm able to maintain for the most part on most of this stuff. But this I'm kind of leaving it as a living mulch walkway, and we're just kind of mowing it with our hands to keep it down. And I kind of think it's pretty too. But what do you guys do? Do you have any of that? Has it worked out for you? Have you left this grow like this? Again, we're going to leave the pigs to come in here and they'll be able to eat a lot of stuff, so I'm not entirely worried yet. But peppers are on the struggle this year. Those little guys are firecrackers. They are spicier than you know what. And I'm getting like 1 pepper per plant. I don't see a whole lot of other blooms. So I'm not sure what's going on. The weather is weird this year. I mean, the weather is weird every freaking year. Whatever buttons they're pushing. But we're going to deal with it, and we're going to get what we can get, and God always provides, so that's kind of what we're going with. But so what's some of the stuff that's working for you guys or not working for you this year? So here we have some different kinds of squashes, and see, they're having no problem with the white on there, so I'm not going to worry about it. It just happens to be that one strain, and they're still performing good. But these ones are looking good, and I'm hoping that we catch up with all of our squashes this year. Aha! I spot one. That is what I call a teenager of the potato bug. Little stinker. So, this is so gross. Yeah. I'm literally just going to take the leaves and pop it. It's disgusting. It's totally disgusting. I'll see if I can find some adults. They must be lingering around. Oh, there's another one. Ooh, you little... Yeah. Yeah. Gross, huh? Yep. Let's see what else we can find. I'm on the search for potato beetles. And what you know, when you want to show somebody something, they're not here. Where are they? That's a good thing, right? I mean, it's a good thing for me, not so much for you. But it is on my website. If you go to foodprude.com, look up potato, and then you will see some pictures of them if you are curious. And yes, we will basically just squish them. Baby carrots, coming along, doing their thing. I'm excited about them. I had to replant a few times. Yeah, I think actually only twice. But they're there. We only need so much. Actually, do not like canned carrots. No one likes canned carrots. Who likes canned carrots? Ugh. So we just eat them fresh. Alright, we have tomatillos. Those are doing really good. I have a few that I planted on purpose over here that were started from seed, and so I just needed some, but then I'll show you this other area. There is a conglomerate and a takeover of the tomatillos. And then here is some more. And we have some tomatoes, and you can tell that these are definitely much smaller. They're not thriving as good, so hopefully the piggy poop will do wonders for next year. That was doing good. And of course we always have the yellow leaves because that's what tomatoes like to do. Let's get rid of it. But there's blooms and things are coming, so I'm happy with it. Zucchini has been tricky this year, so of course this is the one, and there's nothing on it, and it should be zucchini season where I'm throwing it at my neighbors, but that's not happening yet. But I need to get some DE on those bad boys. Something's definitely partaking in these leaves, so I'm going to throw some DE on it and then hope that it'll help with it. For now, dry beans. This is the tomatillo takeover. Seriously, I threw some in here last year on purpose just to see if they would self-seed. Well, by golly, they showed me what they can do. So we have tons of tomatillos. I didn't stake them up or do anything. We're just going to be able to get in there, maybe, and get enough. I mean, it's going to give so much. But tomatillo takeover 2024.